Hey everyone, my name's Alan with Autumn Hill Bees. Welcome to my honey office. In my last video, I did a grand reveal of my new Lyson 70L creamer. This creamer is going to make some amazing creamed honey. What's creamed honey? I'm glad you asked. Creamed honey consists of 9 parts regular liquid honey and 1 part of a crystallized seed honey. So my first batch I started was a 50 pounds, which then consisted of 45 pounds of my wildflower raw honey and 5 pounds of crystallized seed honey from Cox. The beauty of having a creamer like this Lyson one right here is this amazing control box, which allows me to set, run times. And in my case, I wanted to go for 60 hours. And 60 hours ended around 10:30, 11 o'clock last night, and I wasn't quite ready to jar, some creamed honey. So I just extended the time of my creamer. As you notice, this creamer stopped. So the beauty of this creamer is it will run for 15 minutes, which then mixes the seed in the honey. It'll pause for 45 minutes, allowing the crystals to form and, make creamed honey. And then it will repeat that process for the time that you set on your control box. So, which is awesome, right? So, as I mentioned, this is a 50-pound batch. The first run is for 5 pounds of from Cox, but going forward, I want to start using my own. So, as I mentioned in my last video, what I want to do is going forward, making my own creamed honey, is take 5 pounds out of this batch and pour it into this bucket and set it aside for my next iteration of making creamed honey. So I teared it off, and let's go ahead and open up the gate and we'll pour off 5 pounds. So let's see this come out. It should come out pretty. Here it comes. It's a little slow. Oh my goodness. Look how I'm going to drop it down so hopefully the camera can see it. There's my first batch of creamed honey. So this isn't quite creamed honey just yet. There's another process that has to happen after this, which is to set the creamed honey. And that is you need to put it in an environment that consists of 57 degrees Fahrenheit. So in my case, I purchased a wine cooler that is going to allow me to set a temperature of 57 degrees and maintain it there for 2 weeks. They say 7 to 14 days. So I'm going to let this go for 2 weeks. So, okay, I can definitely smell this. This smells amazing. I'm going to go ahead and give this a taste here in a minute. So let me see if I can turn this on to help kind of let the paddles maybe push it faster. Start. Patience isn't one of my virtues, so I'm sure this is going to, when I'm jarring it into my jars, and I'll do that here in a minute, it pouring out slow is going to be a good thing, or slower is going to be a good thing. Let me finish this up off camera, and we'll be back soon. All right, we're about done. I just measured this, and it weighed in about 74 ounces. We need to get to 80. So I'm going to kind of call this good. I guess a tip or fun fact, make sure you have a small little spatula. That way you can kind of scoop out the remaining honey that's in the gate. If you had a hose hooked up to this that went to like a automatic bottler, you wouldn't need this. Or if you had the default honey gate on it, you wouldn't also need this. But so I'll just remember this for the next time. Maybe I'll swap this out until I'm ready to hook the hose up to this, but not a big deal. All right. And then I'll just set this aside. And then my hands are clean, so 79.5 ounces. Oh my, that tastes phenomenal. That's amazing. Let me bring this into you guys. I don't want to pour it too much because this is still, again, this is fairly liquid. It's a little bit thicker than honey, but the next step is to put a lid on it and put it inside my fridge. So let me do that now. I'll just set this aside. All right, there we go. I'm going to toss this into my wine fridge and we'll get to jarring some or pouring creamed honey into some jars, and we'll talk about the next step because I'm going to pour out roughly 20 or 25 jars, which then will give me 25 pounds left in my creamer, and which is going to be the next step, and that's going to be flavoring the remaining creamed honey inside here. Again, this is going to take 2 weeks inside my fridge. Let me get set up and we'll be right back. Here's my first jar of natural creamed honey. I am super excited. The next step is to place this inside my wine cooler that's set at 57 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 weeks. And the hard part is the long wait. Minimum time is 7 days, but recommended is 14 days. I'm gonna let it go for 14 days. So I've done a few jars off camera and was struggling a little bit until the light came on. That when I purchased the creamer, it came with a gate right here. So so then that way I can easily stop it when I want to stop it, because right now I was just opening this up and closing it, and whatever was in this little section was still coming out, and I didn't really have a way to control that. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, because the creamer came with this honey gate, but I had opted to upgrade. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, but here we go. I just go like this, use the rubber gasket, put it like so, and here's how easy these things are. I can probably do it upside down, but undo it a little bit, and then now I can just tighten this up. Alrighty. Now, when I open this gate up and the honey comes up to here, the creamed honey comes up to here, I can easily, let's give that a try right now. So, again, I'm going to tear this off. We'll open this up, and then I will open this gate, and then technically I should get, I may have to see if I can figure this part out again, but here we go. At least now I don't have to struggle with stopping the flow of my creamed honey when it gets to the top of the jar. And as you can see, hopefully the lighting's okay in here. This is a light cream color, so it's almost white. So this will turn white when it sets in the fridge after 2 weeks. So, and again, what I mentioned, or as I mentioned, I am going to jar up about 20 pounds, which should equate to about 25 jars of natural creamed honey. And then we'll get ready for the next step or next phase, and that's making flavored. And I'm opting to do cinnamon, which, you know, I've heard is a crowd favorite, was definitely a favorite for me when I attended NABI a couple weeks ago, or the North American Bee Expo in Kentucky. I had the opportunity to try a lot of different flavors. One of my favorites was cinnamon and peanut butter. Okay, here we go. So now I can just tighten this down. Let it drip a little bit. All right, so this I can just wipe off. 10.3, which is, I'm fine with that. So that is going to be much easier than I was struggling with it before. I can definitely still close it off and then empty whatever's left in the from where it shuts off to here. I can empty that out, you know, into another jar and, you know, eat that myself. But I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner, but glad I did. Okay, I'm going to finish bottling up the remaining bottles off camera before we get to the next step, excuse me, of flavoring our creamed honey. All right, I've finished jarring up my natural creamed honey. That was roughly 30 jars of my natural creamed honey. As I mentioned earlier, the next step is to place this inside of a wine cooler or a mini fridge that can hold a temperature of 57 degrees. There's my fridge. As you can see, let me pull this out. It's already loaded. So let me grab the last one, and then we'll get the next process started. Oh, look at that. Looks like some Dave's creamed honey. That was the apple crisp. Awesome. That one is my favorite, or it's the peanut butter. So thanks, Dave. And there's my 5-pound jar in the back. Some wine, but not necessarily only for creamed honey, but also wine. And then the other project I'm working on, which we'll be doing soon, it's my barrel aged honey. So more on that later. So let's go ahead and get the creamer set up for the next step, and that's flavoring, and we'll be doing it with cinnamon. All right, now it's time for the fun part, and that's flavoring the remaining 25 pounds of my creamed honey. As I mentioned, I'm going to be doing it with cinnamon. This is a organic cinnamon. It's Ceylon ground cinnamon, and the amount, you know, I don't want to share that just yet. This was, you know, the recipe was shared to me, so I don't want to give out the recipe just yet. But I'm going to start with small increments of adding in cinnamon until it comes up to the flavor profile that I like. And the way I'm going to do that is I'll start the spin cycle on this and let it go for like 15 minutes. And when it comes time to pause for 45 minutes, I'll kick it off again for another 15 minutes. I want to make sure that the cinnamon is thoroughly mixed into the remaining 25 pounds of creamed honey. And then I'll let it rest overnight. And then in the morning, I'll sample it or taste it. And then, you know, if I need more cinnamon, I'll add more cinnamon. And if it's good, then I'll just let it go. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'll just gradually pour this in. Let me see if I can get you guys in here so you guys can see it. So then I'll just stop it. Okay, pour a little bit more. It smells pretty good. This is pretty epic. And as I mentioned, this is going to go through a 15-minute cycle. When it stops, I'll come back out, manually stop it, and restart it so that way it gets probably a good hour of mixing. And that way the cinnamon is thoroughly mixed through the creamed honey. Again, let it rest overnight so all the flavors will meld into the creamed honey. And then in the morning, again, I'll try it out to see how it tastes. Hopefully that's all I need. If I need to add a little bit more, I'll just let it mix again, let it rest for a little bit, and repeat the process until it has a flavor consistency that I like, and then we'll jar it up. Good morning. It's the following day, and the cinnamon has had time to blend or meld in the creamed honey. And as I mentioned, less is best, and I don't want to overpower the flavor of cinnamon and gradually bring it up. So I'm going to give it a try. A spoon, I'm just going to reach in. All right. I don't know if you can see this. So it's already got a darker brown, and I can see some cinnamon specks in it. Wow. That tastes phenomenal. The silkiness of the creamed honey is amazing. I'm still not getting quite enough cinnamon flavor to it yet. So again, as I mentioned last night, you want to gradually add cinnamon. So that's what we're going to do now. I'll just add this to my coffee. So I'm going to stop this and then start, so it resets the cycle. And now I'm going to gradually grab a little bit more cinnamon. Let me take a look. Actually, I'll go ahead and close that up. So same process. I'll let this go mixing for a couple hours so it completely mixes in. I had to take a spatula and kind of help it out because the paddle got the outer edges, but it didn't get quite in the center. So I just took like a long spatula, made sure that I thoroughly mixed or helped mix it, and then I let it continue to spin. So again, I'll let this go for a couple hours. I'll let it rest so it has time to meld the flavors in there. And again, I'll taste it, see what I think. If it doesn't have the strong enough cinnamon flavor that I like, or I think my customers will like, again, this is the part where it's subjective. It's up to you to flavor your own creamed honey. And I'm assuming that's going to be the same with the other flavors I'm going to try. It's more your personal taste, but just don't overdo it. Baby steps. I'm weighing these out, internally. And if I get permission or, to share, I will. Or if you DM me, I can see what I can do as far as, sharing what I did, what I came up with. So again, just stick around and we'll see you on the next segment. All right, welcome back. It's been overnight since I added the last addition of cinnamon. As I mentioned, before, it's all up to taste and it's up to you, the individual. For me, less is best, and I can always add more. So I'll see what this turns out. I've already had the family taste it, and they all agree that it's spot on. It's not too overpowering. You can definitely taste the cinnamon. So I had to empty the honey gate because it had creamed honey in there, and I kept pouring, as you can see here, until I started getting the cinnamon creamed honey. Let's give this a taste. As you can already tell, it's already super thick. This will set up further once I toss it in the fridge, but wow, that is phenomenal. You definitely have to give this a try, guys. Next, we'll go ahead and finish bottling up the creamed honey that's in here. I've already started jarring it up. It's a little bit thick, so it's going to take a while for it to come out of the honey gate. So I'll have to play with it a little bit more to find out, not, as you can see, it's a little thick, but which is fine. I'll finish the rest of these off camera. We'll toss them in the fridge for 2 weeks, which is going to be the hard part. Again, phenomenal. This Lyson creamer is going to be an additional, a great add to my arsenal of products, that I'm going to be, selling to my customers. If you guys can, please subscribe and smash that like button, and we'll see you on the next one.